to the white people watching this, and especially to the white people that know me in the real world, my friends, okay? Today, Trump did away with the Equal Employment Opportunity Act. You know the history of that, and you know why it had to be implemented in the first place. So when you went in that booth, if you cast your vote for Donald Trump, we're done. If you didn't hear me the other times I've said it, I just want to reiterate it now. You cannot vote for somebody that takes away the Equal Employment Opportunity Act, knowing the history behind it and why it had to be put in place. You can't cast your vote for him and look at me and tell me that you love me. You're done. And I mean that for life. Unbelievable. They try to paint it as this saving grace for civil rights when really they just want to fill the federal government with all of their selected employees that are loyalists no matter what. So even after the 4 years that Donald Trump is done, even if another MAGA loyalist or Republican takes the presidency, they still have to go through all of this bullshit because now you got only MAGA federal employees. No diversity, no inclusion. Talking about some based off merit. We know what it has to be based off. Did you bend the knee to Donald Trump? Cool. You now have a job in the federal government. We fired everybody else. You knew what you were voting for. Donald Trump knows he cannot run again. If you think they're doing all this shit just to disappear in 4 years, they're setting it up for the long game. So now if I go in and I want to get a loan for a home, if I want to get a business loan, I guarantee you it's going to be so much easier for the white man who they love and select to get a loan than it is for me to start my business. Fast forward into the next generation, my bloodline is now affected because I couldn't start my business as soon as this guy could because he's white and he got the loan. It's an example, but do you see how like this affects generation after generation after generation? We get robbed of opportunities because of your selfish vote. Did he sign an executive order for price gouging? Did he sign an executive order for these grocery stores to stop looking at you with nothing money and increasing the prices anyway? That's what he told y'all. Where's the executive order for that? Oh, well, it's a process and it's complicated. It can't excuses. Like it always is from y'all. Done, dude.
Y'all, I'm so mad. I am so freaking mad. Do y'all understand what's about to happen in the world? Is everybody really paying attention? And why is nobody really talking about this? Like, I only seen a few people talking about it, and it's really blowing my mind. Like, I'm so ready to break down. It's ridiculous. I'm so ready to break down and cry because I'm scared for my kids growing up in this world that this man just literally took away the Equal Employment Opportunity Act of 1965. I am so freaking mad that our kids will have to grow up probably back in segregation again. This is the worst feeling ever. Like, I'm so scared for my kids. Like, what is really going on right now? Who voted for him? Because I didn't. I did not vote for him. This is ridiculous that our kids are going to have to grow up in this sick, disgusting world where now they won't be able to get jobs. Their future is at risk. Like, at risk, y'all. We need to do something about this. This is so terrible. I don't care about y'all talking about me crying. I don't care about none of that because I'm scared for my kids' future. I have kids, black kids who are going to not even be able to get a job in their future, who will be discriminated against in their future, where they won't be able to do anything in their future. And now they have to be growing up in this sick, disgusting world. I hate it here. The United States is a really bad place, and it is no longer safe for black people. It is no longer safe for any people that are not white. It is not safe at all. I am terrified of what is going to happen. And I'm taking up arms. I'm definitely preparing myself for the future. And y'all better get into it. Y'all better prepare for the future. This is serious. This is not something that is just, this is freaking serious. If you have black kids, you should be worried. You should be worried. You should be worried. Something is wrong in this country and we need to do something about it. You should be worried. Get off your ass and figure out a way how we can figure this out. We all need to come together because all of our future is at stake. All of ours. Indian, Mexican, you see they deporting Mexicans right now. Deporting anybody that's not of the U.S. back to where they came from. Their kids are about to become wards of the state. Those poor babies who lost their mothers and their fathers because of the deportation are now going to go into the foster care system. I wouldn't want my kids in the foster care system. I certainly don't want nobody else's kids in there. I don't care what color, if you red, pink, black, or blue, I don't care. I don't want your kids up in there. It is not safe for kids in foster care at all.
Let's talk about the Equal Opportunity Employment Act of 1965 that Trump just revoked. What does that mean for Black people? Ladies and gentlemen, I've seen on the internet where white people are coming out saying, oh, Black people, you're delusional. But you know what? I'm going to do that in the next video because if I add that on here, it's going to be a longer video. But Black people are literally sharing and finding out solutions and seeing on how they should move forward immediately as possible. Because right now, if that act is out of place, the claim white people are giving is, well, you know what? He is literally trying to say you will now be hired off merit. Literally because you're educated and you qualify, not because we actually need diversity. Ladies and gentlemen, I would want to ask you a very important question and be honest when you answer me. When has ever a white man hired by merit, not by color? You let me know. Let me give you a little quick story, ladies and gentlemen. And for those of you that are new here, my name is Natkunda Esther. I'm so saddened by this. I mean, I'm not even in America, but I'm so saddened by this because it sounds very familiar to me. My name is Natkunda Esther. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. Please, this is so heavy. My outstanding subscribers, guys, thank you so much for supporting me. But I lived in the United Arab Emirates, Dubai. Most people know that. And there is a system until now. Skin color equals more money. You are African, depends where you come from. You're Nigerian, you're Ugandan, Ghanaian, Senegalese, Kenyan, little money for you because you're a Black African. Egyptian, Moroccan, oh, you're African, but at least you're white. You're close to us, the Arabs, which means more money for you, even if you will be doing the same job like a Black African. Now imagine if that treatment is in people of color, because I consider Arab people, they're not white people, they're people of color. If it is that severe in Dubai, how about a country like America? And you ask yourself, what did a Black person do so bad that they are in this position in 2025?
So Trump just revoked the Equal Employment Act of 1965, which is crazy because there's so many people on here that I'm seeing, so many Trump supporters that are saying, oh, that's fantastic. That's great news. That means that they don't have to have minimums for like how many Hispanic people you have to hire, blah, blah, blah. I'm afraid you don't understand what the Equal Employer Act was. It's simply just so they can't discriminate against you. So now that it is revoked, if a employer so chooses, you could be 100% fully qualified, like more than qualified, and then could say, no, because you're Black. No, because you're a girl. They can 100% do that, and that's legal now. And for anyone who's like, oh, that's fantastic, that's great news because of X, Y, and Z, You must be a white male. The people who voted for Trump are so fucking dumb. You guys just don't understand, and you don't care about literally anyone else except for yourself. And that's going to become very evident to you guys that he doesn't care about you when your taxes go up because you don't understand what tariffs are. The price of eggs isn't going to go down. If you make under $300,000 a year, then he doesn't care. And even if you make over $300,000 a year, he really doesn't fucking care unless you're one of his buddies. So, thanks a lot. And anyway, if there is a brave soul out there, like Luigi, that's all I'll say.
So what I learned today is a lot of y'all you don't care about your history. You don't care about the people that made sacrifices for you to be able to be where you are today, to be able to do the things that you're able to do, to be able to have the opportunities that you're able to have. You don't care about it. I just got off the phone with my mom, who just got off the phone with her mom, my grandmother, who she had to console because she was boo-hoo crying, and my mom didn't realize why. My grandmother was crying because she had saw the news that the orange man in charge had just put an executive order to repeal the Equal Opportunity Employment Act of the Civil Rights Act of 1965. Now, I understand before that executive order was placed, that stood for over 50 years. An employer could literally tell you to your face, well, I'm sorry, I don't hire black people. I don't hire women. And no consequences. They could literally be just that discriminatory towards people. And the reason that it upset my grandmother so much is because she remembers my great-grandmother and great-grandfather, her parents, the sacrifices, the marching, the hard working, the speaking out and trying to help change, trying to help get these opportunities for us, and the sacrifices these people made to their own families, not to being around their families sometimes because they were fighting for the good of us as a people, as a whole. And all this time later, to see what you might think is trivial, what you might think is small, to see something that they worked, sacrificed, clawed, and scratched for be taken away by the stroke of a pen. And all because a few of us, not saying a lot of us, a few of us, because it was 92% and 80%. But every one of us counts. And a few of us decided a little bit of money was more important than preserving our history, than preserving the things that we fought for, to be able to have opportunities in this place. It's just sad, man. It's sad that, the further we get away from those times, the further our elders pass away and leave this world, and we aren't taught the things we need to be taught, and the knowledge isn't passed on to us. The further we get from that, the more and more easily it's going to be for things to roll back and go back in that direction. And I mean, it's unfortunate, but hey, man, just gotta keep grinding, keep fighting a good fight, and look for better days, work towards better days. But man, just hearing my mom and knowing that hurt my grandmother like that it's crazy, man. Yeah, we got to do better.
People. And let's be real clear, which people don't seem to understand. Republicans used to support the civil rights laws. But when Barry Goldwater's book, The Conscience of a Conservative, came out, that flipped it. And then they opposed the Civil Rights Act. You've had conservatives and Republicans who have been saying that a person should be allowed to discriminate. And so that's really what this is about. They do not want to be held to the laws, the civil rights statute saying you cannot discriminate in the hiring. What they're saying is we want to be able to hire anybody we want to, and this is a burden telling us that we can't that we can't discriminate against somebody black or Latino or Asian or somebody who's a woman. That's what this is really all about.
Now, black people are finding themselves on the internet trying to find solutions. How do we move forward, knowing that even if they claim they will give us opportunities based off education and how much we qualify, we know it's a lie. Because already, even when the act was in place, still the juicier places in businesses and workplaces have been given to white people. When the act was in action, now that it's out, when will they look at merit and qualifications? Literally. Let's be honest. I think the sad thing for me is seeing how much Black people in America being gaslighted. Like, oh no, it is not actually that serious. Just go to school and study. Like, you should just qualify with your papers. Excuse me? Haven't you seen hospitals where a Black woman or a Black man, gentleman, qualified creme de la creme of the top, and people don't want them to work on them simply because they're Black, because they think Black does not come with merit and qualifications, because the white is the color of perfection, even if they could be less educated, because the whites, they deserve the opportunity. 2025 has started. Like 2025 has started, and I don't know if a Black person is going to catch some breath, honestly.
This story has been a challenging one. I have re-recorded this intro like 7 times already. I saw this yesterday and I couldn't even report on it. All of the things that he is rolling back, all of the gains from the civil rights era and the feminist era, just erased with the stroke of some pens. To all of the MAGA people that are not straight, not white men, not able-bodied, I hope, I really hope that you really reflect on where we all are because you voted for this man. I understand why white men voted for him. I understand why Christian white men voted for him. But all of the others, look at what he has done. Donald Trump has revoked the 1965 Equal Employment Opportunity Act. Notably, the order prohibited discrimination in hiring based on race, religion, skin color, sex, or nationality. That is what the Equal Employment Opportunity Act did. It prohibited discrimination. So let's talk about it. Why President Johnson signed the executive order in 1965 that Trump rescinded. This country was built on racism, classism, and sexism. And in order to even get to where we are today, it had to go through the legislative process. It had to be legislated because so many people had, they were compelled to keep discrimination alive and well. But because it kept the upper echelons of white men and Christians at the top and everybody else at the bottom. So you people voting Trump in helped to erase all of that. And now we can go right back to the discrimination of the 50s and 60s before all of these rights were won. Good. Okay, let me just get into this article. When the United States President Lyndon B. Johnson took the stage at Howard University in June of 1965, he had already signed the Civil Rights Act into law. And he said he expected to sign the Voting Rights Act shortly. The hard-fought legislation crafted after widespread protests and demonstrations by Black Americans was not enough. Johnson told Howard's historically Black university graduating class. He laid out the vast economic gulf between Black and white Americans and his plans to address it. Black poverty is not the same as white poverty, Johnson, a Democrat, said. It was also caused by ancient brutality, past injustice, and present prejudice. Black Americans are still buried under a blanket of history and circumstance. It is not a lasting solution to lift just one corner of that blanket. We must stand on all sides and we must raise the entire cover if we are to liberate our fellow citizens, he said. Rather than improving, their situation was declining by many measures, Johnson said. Black male income had declined and unemployment risen in recent years, he noted. The unemployment rate for Black and white men was nearly equal 35 years ago, he said, but since then have become twice as high for Black men than white. The median income for Black families dropped from 57% of what white households earned in 1952 to 53% in 1963. Johnson said he was calling a conference of scholars, government officials, and Black leaders to ensure that Black Americans move beyond opportunity to achievement. In September, he signed Executive Order 11246 forbidding employment discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, and national origin by organizations receiving federal contracting, and required federal contractors to set up detailed affirmative action programs to make sure that was the case that are monitored by the federal government. Trump rescinded the order late on Tuesday in a flurry of measures aimed at repealing diversity programs across the country in a move that could have far-reaching impacts. The White House included the order's elimination under a list of measures, calling it terminating illegal discrimination in the federal government. The rescinded order is the federal authority underpinning affirmative action for federal contractors and subcontractors, law firm Dwayne Morris explained in a message to federal contractors. The executive order represents a radical change in government policy that throws the entire existence of race and gender-based affirmative action into limbo. The phrase affirmative action and much of the executive order Trump is repealing itself built on one signed by Johnson's predecessor, John F. Kennedy, in March 1961, which asked government contractors to take affirmative action to ensure employees and applicants were treated without regard to their race, creed, color, or national origin. Trump's rescinding of a 60-year-old order comes as the racial gap in median income has improved only slightly since LBJ's 1965 speech. The median income of a white non-Hispanic family in 2023 was just over $89,000, according to the U.S. Census, while the median income of Black households was just over $56,000, about 63% of white households. When Trump burst on the scene and was talking about making America great again, I would always ask the question to MAGA people, when was America great for all Americans? And to me, it always seemed like he was specifically speaking to Christian white males. And I never heard them speak on anything outside of the 1950s. And in the 1950s, it was a deplorable time for women and non-white folks because, otherwise there wouldn't have been a need for all of the civil rights movements and feminist movements to get on par with women and non-white people having actual human rights in this country. And so that was the reason why these executive orders were even necessary. And now we have gone backwards. So here's his executive order, ending illegal discrimination and restoring merit-based opportunity. So he wants to go to a time back before the 1965 executive order when we could literally in this country just discriminate on the basis of race, sex, national origin, and the like. By the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered. Section 1, purpose. Longstanding federal civil rights laws protect individual Americans from discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. These civil rights protections serve as a bedrock supporting equality of opportunity for all Americans. As president, I have a solemn duty to ensure that these laws are enforced for the benefit of all Americans. Yet today, roughly 60 years after the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, critical and influential institutions of American society, including the federal government, major corporations, financial institutions, the medical industry, large commercial airlines, law enforcement agencies, and institutions of higher education have adopted and actively use dangerous, demeaning, and immoral race and sex-based preferences under the guise of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, or diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility that can violate the civil rights laws of this nation. The fact that they actually put accessibility in there is just abhorrent. Like, do able-bodied people really need protection? Illegal DEI and DEIA policy not only violate the text and spirit of our longstanding federal civil rights laws, they also undermine our national unity as they deny, discredit, and undermine the traditional American values of hard work, excellence, and individual achievement in favor of an unlawful, corrosive, and pernicious identity-based spoils system. I highly doubt that this man wrote this, putting pernicious in there. Okay. Hardworking Americans who deserve a shot at the American dream should not be stigmatized, demeaned, or shut out of opportunities because of their race or sex. These illegal DEI and DEIA policies also threaten the safety of American men, women, and children across the nation by diminishing the importance of individual merit, aptitude, hard work, and determination when selecting people for jobs and services in key sectors of American society, including all levels of government and the medical, aviation, and law enforcement communities. Yet in case after tragic case, the American people have witnessed firsthand the disastrous consequences of illegal, pernicious discrimination that has prioritized how people were born instead of what they were capable of doing. And with that, I'm going to end that there. So, discrimination is back on the table. Here we go. That's where we are. This is going to be a rocky next few decades because it has been overturned, and this is just where we are. Hope people are happy. Hope colored MAGA are happy. Hope women MAGA are happy. Hope disabled and LGBTQ MAGA are happy.
It was never about merit-based rewards. Don't let them gaslight you and trick you. And you know how I know that it was never about merit-based rewards is because college students nowadays in this country can go to college, graduate, get their degree, go to grad school, graduate, get that degree, have multiple degrees, have all of the qualifications, bring everything to the table, yet the job market still doesn't want to hire them. If it's about the individual's performance and what they bring to the table, why are so many college graduates, graduate school graduates, having such a hard time in this country getting a job? Still living with their parents, having to take on jobs that have nothing to do with their careers or their degrees because they need money. They need money. The only race in this country that has an advantage in the workforce, in the workplace, are white people. I thought that we already knew this. Literally no one. People of color already have such a hard time getting a job compared to white people. So what do? You revoke a Civil Rights Act of 1964. An act that was placed in this country to prevent discrimination and segregation.
I'm good at turning a negative into a positive, so let's talk about it. Recently, the Equal Opportunity Act, which was designed to promote fairness in jobs, education, and opportunities, it was revoked. This means that the government is stepping back from enforcing protections against discrimination, placing the responsibility on business and individuals. As a business owner, this hit me hard at first because I thought about how this could affect those that look like me, but also those that are trying to build something for themselves in a system that's not always fair. But then I realized something important. This is my opportunity to lead by example. For me, this means doubling down on what we've already built, creating a business that values diversity, provides opportunity, and serves our community. So moving forward, it's about taking control of our future, supporting one another, and showing that no matter what is revoked, we have the power to rise above it. Now is the time to lead by example, create opportunities for ourselves, but also for others, because believe it or not, the power is in our hands.
Trump just scrapped the Equal Employment Opportunity Act. It's gone for federal contractors. Trump says he's ending woke hiring and pushing for merit-based jobs. Supporters call it fair, but critics warn it could bring back discrimination. This move is already sparking huge debates.